sound like Speed Racer, does it? No, it does not. But the need for speed.
And that's not Travis Tritt either. That's my good friend Chuck Schaefer singing that song.
That's right. Well, hey, homage, kind of a, what the
he's
heck?
Second. He's my second favorite.
He's second. Okay. That's right. Number 2, we put back on his back
number
there.
2 there, Chuck.
The need for speed. Yeah, and you know what? I don't really notice it that much, but since the show has been on, I've seen more racing on Fox.
Yes. Yeah,
covering a lot of the races. I didn't even know that. I know that I've seen it for baseball and stuff, but I think they cover more racing than they do.
Yeah, I think
than they've ever done before.
It's another reason why we're here. We want to keep everybody involved in racing. And
I know it's Talladega.
If you're not involved, get involved.
Yeah, Talladega is sort of like Fenway Park.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it is in racing. But these other places, Charlotte's a big place for this stuff.
Yeah, Dover was last week.
Dover was last week.
So it's a local one.
Yeah. But, man, I said, maybe I just wasn't paying any attention.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't paid attention.
Yeah.
And, so that's why we're here, to get you to pay attention to racing and all the local tracks like New Egypt and Bridgeport and Wall Stadium and Maple Grove.
And Route 13 going into Croydon, or if you're on the Lam.
There's a lot of that going on. That's why I stay off of Route 13. Wow.
It is terrible, isn't it?
But, we'll stick to the tracks, not the roads, okay? So,
how many? Yeah. But, more wrecks there than safer driving on the tracks than Route 13.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, last Saturday I took my grandson to his first race, and he enjoyed it. I mean, it was like a little chilly. I would like to catch him, when he'll go next time. It's a little nicer.
Yeah. Nancy, a no-go on that?
Nah, Nancy's not into it at all.
Okay.
My dad's supposed to come out from Ohio, and we're supposed to go down. And I actually sat with one of his old friends, Mark Yapel, who calls into the show, and I met him for the first time after talking to him. I probably met him years and years ago when I was a little kid, but without knowing. But sat with him this week, and we swapped some old racing stories from Flemington and stuff like that. It was really nice to catch up with Mark and getting some stuff in there.
Fred, do you ever check the? A lot of times the FS1 and 2 will run time trials and just to get into a race. Does that qualify for something that would be interesting? As you're looking for maybe one of your favorite racers that needs to qualify to be in it?
Usually.
Or just you don't like the race itself?
Yeah, I like the race itself. I mean, I'll watch it if it's on there, but I won't pay as much attention to it as I would be to race. But a lot of the guys, they pretty much make it. It's just a matter of positioning.
Yeah. Unless there's a feud going on between Jimmy Johnson and somebody that we don't know about.
Yeah, well, he's retired now, so
he
comes out once in a while.
He was always in disputes all the time. But if you're not winning, they could care less, right?
It's possible. He's a really nice guy from what I've heard. Back to New Egypt, it was like little, not a lot of dust. Track was fast and sticky. Not a whole lot of wrecks or anything like that. It was a good night of racing. I left before the modified feature, so Mark filled me in when I left. Because my grandson got a little ram eater and he was running up and down the things, and he's 11. So
but I do remember the Flemington years growing up in Central Jersey, about half hour, 40 miles away, minutes away on 0202, but. The Flemington was a big deal back in those days, and they had some Big Ten names that would, or names to be, that cut their teeth on that before they moved to.
Yeah, moved into NASCAR.
NASCAR
Jack
and
Bodine. Ray Evernham. Who actually was Jeff Gordon's crew chief. Trying to think, some others. Jimmy Horton ran. I was watching an old Jimmy Horton thing, and he was running a NASCAR. I forget what track it was. But I wish I could remember what track it was. But it was nice seeing some of the people that I've actually met, seeing them out there. Yeah, I mean, AJ Foyt is huge, and so is Mario Andretti, and back in the day, Indy cars and stuff. The Unser brothers, Al Unser. Well, they stuck mostly to the Indy cars and formulas and stuff like that. Or you'd catch AJ Foyt running a NASCAR once in a while. Davey Allison. Davey Allison is a NASCAR guy. Late Davey Allison. Yes. who was an Alan Kulwicki, late Alan
Alan
Kulwicki.
Kulwicki, yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the guys that ran NASCAR started out, running dirt, and some of them still do. Kyle Larson still runs dirt almost every week. Tony Stewart runs dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Now Tony Stewart's running drag cars too.
Yeah. Now there's some. I could be wrong, Fred. There's now some money to be made on these circuits a little bit. Back in the day, it was not a whole heck of a lot. You had to go all the way to the top races, and but now there's some money to be made in on the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there was always money to be made, and
Yeah.
I just never followed that. Just entertainment value. So
Entertainment value. Do we have any of that?
I don't know. Let's pick up the line.
Okay, you're up with Fred. Feel the need for speed.
Hey, Fred and Jim, it's Earl Krause from
Hi, Earl.
Area Auto Racing News.
All right.
Good morning.
What's happening, Earl?
Looking forward to another good racing weekend, and good hearing you guys on the show.
Good. Yeah, it was
Enjoy your automotive show as well. That's very entertaining.
especially when we insult EVs.
Yeah, exactly.
Please promise you there will be no EVs at Wall Stadium.
Oh, no, heavens no.
Imagine that race. So what's happening this weekend
we had a
in Wall?
good Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good night of racing, and it sounds like you had a good night at New Egypt as well.
Yeah. Yep, it was a good night. I actually saw some of the pictures on the Facebook page, and I got my Area Auto Racing News yesterday, so I was reading that last night. So, yeah, it looks like you guys had a good run down there.
It was, just as it was at New Egypt. Kind of the weather was a little bit challenging, but we got through it, and that's the thing, And we were talking about it afterwards, and I'm sure New Egypt was the same way, that the loyal fans came out. Even though the weather forecast was kind of questionable,
Right.
It was good to see the fans there cheering on their favorites, and that's what we need. The folks to say, "Hey, we're racing tonight. Let's go and enjoy it."
Yeah, yep. We had a great time, and I still do plan on getting down the Wall at some point.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll look you up when I get down there. But yeah, that's why we're here. We want to get some more people interested and join the loyal people that are already there. And
Yes, exactly.
So, but yeah, we had a good time, and the weather will be getting nicer. I think this weekend's another challenging weekend, weather-wise. But we'll get there.
That's good.
So.
That was interesting, the conversation you both were having there about Flemington Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
I went there when I was probably, I think, 11 years old the first time I went with my dad back in the dirt track days.
Mm-hmm.
And, that Flemington Speedway had its own atmosphere. It was truly a historic place. Really miss it. That was a great place to be on a Saturday night.
Oh yeah. Like I said before, I grew up in the infield over there with a bunch of my other friends, John Scarpati Jr. and his sister Chrissy, and
too.
we all used to run around the infield even before, our dads were out there on the track. So it was a good time. That was early '70s. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I actually missed a lot of. Seen Al Tasnady drive a little bit, but he was pretty much, over by then. Trying to think, Will Cagle, he was a big runner down there.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Trying to think of some of the other big Dick Tobias and all those guys.
Stan
Plosky, yeah. He was actually, my dad knew him pretty well, and he ended up buying one of our first lifts when Dad started the shop off a stand. Yeah.
There you go. Autograph it.
We went up to his place and then outside of Ringo's, and the pheasant farm, and I'm looking at all the pheasants and quail and stuff. I'm like, this is amazing. Yeah. So, but yeah, good times, and good people. Everybody involved.
I can remember when sometimes a racer would get hot and win a couple of races, and then all of a sudden they'd be national celebrities and, big time contract. Danny Sullivan was always a guy I was
absolutely.
And all of a sudden came out of nowhere, bachelor, early 30s,
He was like more formula. I didn't grow up following the formula.
Yeah.
I saw some of it, but we was always a dirt track and
dirt track. But there was money to be made. Also, they had sponsorships and things like that for
Well, when back in the
Not a lot, but a few.
Earl can touch on this
Yeah.
too. But I remember my dad when we first built cars. It was little local guys would sponsor like garages or beer stores,
Exactly.
you know. But I think Brett Hearn was one of the first guys that got.
Annie
in there with-
Granatelli was always a
Yeah,
guy.
but Brett Hearn actually
Yeah.
got the Pepsi to sponsor one of his first
Right.
cars.
Good
and that was
move.
where the money started coming in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And some of the advertisers that some of these corporate advertisers had.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? What are we doing with auto racing here? It's
I don't know.
yeah. Well, but I went to college in Florida, and they were on all the time. Ted Turner put them on all the time.
Right. Right.
Did very well with it. I says somebody knows something about something.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so what?
And one thing I'd like to mention too is you were just talking a little while ago about using Flemington as an example. Drivers who raced there went on to national success. Very sadly, we lost one of the New Jersey racing icons this past week, Wally Dellenbach.
Oh,
I remember
yes.
Wally. I remember him.
Yes.
Who began racing at Old Bridge Speedway, Wall Stadium, driving in the modifieds and winning. And then he went on to race midgets and sprint cars and went on to compete in the Indianapolis 500 from 1967 to 1979. A couple of fourth-place finishes. Nearly won the race
Right.
in 1975. He was leading right after the halfway, and he had a burnt piston, had to drop out, and 12 laps later, it started to rain, and the race was made official. So he was within 12 laps of his greatest victory. But what a classy gentleman!
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Made Wally special.
Yeah, I think we met him. My dad used to take me when Trenton was open.
Yes.
He was always hanging over there. Wally Dallenbach was, and
Yeah, and he won there, which was great. Won an IndyCar race there. And one of the things that made Wally Dellenbach very special in racing was that he was instrumental in the development of the IndyCar safety team that is now commonplace. But he developed that concept of having a dedicated safety crew at all the IndyCar races with doctors on board and nurses, and they actually had complete resumes on each driver. So whenever they went to a track, heaven forbid if something happened, they had all the records right there. So, yeah, he was a great gentleman, and, real inspiration. So he was 87, had a wonderful life, and passed away last Sunday.
yep, I read that. Yeah.
Wow. 12 laps away. I mean, that's a great line for a book. Great line. It's sort of like the 15 Minutes of Fame, Andy Warhol there for a little bit.
But yeah, Wally was.
Well put.
Wally was a good guy. I've seen him in interviews and stuff on TV and Wild World of Sports.
Yes.
But I do vaguely remember meeting him at Trenton when we went through around there.
Always very classy.
Yes,
It's a
very
real
nice guy.
gentleman. Define that word, of gentleman. Absolutely.
Yep.
Something you don't find some of the find some unsavory folks every once in a while, but that's in any business, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
everywhere.
some people are just.
And they're still great guys in all racing.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't.
Especially on the local level, I'm sure at Fred, when you go to a track like New Egypt or Wall, and if you had your grandson with you, you could take him up to a driver like a Ryan Godown and introduce him, and Ryan will get down, literally to your grandson's level, physically, and sign an autograph, talk to him. I know Billy Pouch always did that.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of guys like Nick Leach and I were talking before when we were kids. We used to think the drivers were like gods to us.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
And
absolutely.
my dad
yes.
made me a half-assed autograph book. And then I'd go down and get like Billy Osmond and Stan Plosky and all the Sammy Beavers, Lee McBride. I remember all these. They'd sign these things, and they had no problem with that. And they would sit and talk with me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
as a 7-8-year-old, it was like, oh my god.
My memories would be simply the Indy 500 and Memorial Day were tacked together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a guy by the name of
Yes.
Parnelli Jones won. I forgot I was 10
He
or
actually
11
ran
years.
dirt too. He ran sprint
Yeah,
cars too.
so, and
Right.
not much after that, but they were always tied together. Run, a major network, ABC, always had the
Yeah.
Indy 500 every year, and then now I don't know when it is. They move it around.
But I think a lot of the guys, like you're saying with Ryan Godown and all, they would, if I took my grandson down there, I didn't get to pit pass this time in New Egypt because I had him with me, and I don't want to take him down before the track, before the race. I would take him down afterwards. but it was chilly, so we left early. But I could have let him run through there with me and then meet some of the guys, and I hope he would have the same feeling that I had when I went through there.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
it's neat too. A lot of times the drivers, as you know, they'll let, especially after the races, of course, they'll let the kids sit in the race car, and that's a great experience.
Oh yeah. Yep. And then, also if Nick doesn't call, I was going to tell him, but Nick, when I was sitting there, Nick texted me and he's like, "What's your grandson's name?" So I told him Grayson. So he had Pistol Pete up there in the stands announcing, "Do we have somebody here, a guest here? It's his first race." And it's Fred Fletcher's grandson, and my grandson had a big smile on his face, so came over to PA. Great. So one of those moments.
Yeah, then some of these guys, I knew them when. Kind of thing,
Yeah. So, but it's always great. Always great to catch up with those guys, and like I said, I sat with Mark Yapel for a good part of it. Back and forth, and we had swapped some good stories about Flemington. And stuff
that's
like
great.
That. And then, he knew my dad from years ago. And,
yeah, Mark mentioned to me that he met you, so that's great.
Yeah, but good time had. So, but again, what's going on? What's going on this weekend at Wall?
So. Pardon me?
What's going on this weekend at Wall? So we want to get some information.
Show. Yeah, we have a regular show there, and the modifieds will be back, of course, along with our sportsman division, the factory stocks, legend cars, and the TQ midgets, the ATQMRA TQ midgets. They're a traveling series, the winged three-quarter midgets, and we run them at Wall roughly 8 times during the season, and they, as an organization, the TQs. Have actually raced at Wall since the 1950s, and of course the cars have evolved. But they run at Wall Stadium on the inner 5th mile track, and it's been a very exciting show. So they'll be back this weekend.
All right, so we want people to get out to Wall Stadium and check it out, because it's going to be a great time up there. Hopefully the weather holds out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks for bringing us up to speed, as they say, right?
All right, gentlemen. Great talking to you both, and keep up the good work, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you, Earl. All right, keep calling in. Well,
yeah.
I love talking with you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Thank you so much. All right, then.
All right, gentlemen.
You betcha. There you go. If that's not a racing name, I don't know what is.
Oh, yeah.
Earl. That's it. Yeah, Duke or Flash might work. Anyway, yeah. So that's what are we doing? We.
The need for speed.
So hopefully we get a lot of people listening in. Last week was a fast-paced show. It was. It was.
I felt like I was in the pits there with Robert Duvall there in Days of Thunder there.
So,
is that really? I meant to ask you. Is that kind of the way it is, or are they taking?
No, there was a lot of liberties.
Are they taking a lot of liberties in that?
There's a lot of liberties in that movie. So
it
was entertaining. So.
All right. Well, I don't want to, like throw cold water on something like that, but it's
Put it this way: if it stars Tom Cruise, it takes a lot of liberties.
Yeah, Top Gun, the same thing too.
All that. Yeah.
So I like Matthew Modine and Memphis Belle better.
That was a good movie.
What do you think? Yeah.
So if anybody wants to call, I'm not going to be able to make it to the races this weekend because I got a few things going on, and then next weekend is my anniversary.
Ooh.
So.
A very racy relationship with
my wife?
Yes.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? It's right.
We've done 33 laps now.
33 and then some, and counting. There you go. Where does the time go, though? Man.
But, so if anybody wants to call in, tell me what's going on in, down in Bridgeport. I know it got rained out last week. A lot of guys scattered all over the place. A few of the 4-cylinders and stuff came up to New Egypt. That's put on a good show. There was 27 4-cylinder cars, which is crazy.
That's interesting too, because it wouldn't take much to rain something out, especially with safety precautions and kind of the litigation world we're in.
One thing I never really thought of until what happened a few weeks ago at New Egypt was Bridgeport ran. But actually I think both tracks ran. But it rained really hard up in New Egypt, and the track got really soft and got tore up. Yeah. And I think Mark Yapel was telling me that a lot of guys were blowing the right rear tires for some reason, like too much grip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, so there's something, and it actually peels the track up, the coating, because dirt track is not just dirt that you just happens to be there. You know, the guys take a lot of time setting these tracks up, and they did a really good job last weekend at New Egypt, with the different compounds of dirt and stuff like that. And a buddy of mine and I were joking yesterday, but going back to Flemington, he was telling me a story about when he was younger. He took a girl on a date, and he's like, he went to the grandstands.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, these are really good seats. Nobody's here. Everybody's down the other end. He's like, why is nobody sitting down the other end? He said, I found out afterwards.
Yeah.
I said, well, you sat down by the fourth turn, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, right.
Because coming around there, that's where the dirt starts.
Yeah. Well, you learn the hard way. Nobody's willing to give you a heads up on that.
Yeah, he
right?
said, next thing I knew, I was covered in dirty, greasy, oily dirt.
Yeah.
I was like, great, Bob. That's what it's all about. That's part of the charm.
Yeah. Or somebody else has been burned exactly like that. I said, so you must be initiated properly. Anyway. Oh, all right. We
We got another call.
You do. I'm going to sit there and flip that right there. And you're up with Fred. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen.
Hey.
Mark Capel here.
Hey, Mark.
Hey.
How's
Good.
everybody doing today?
Feel the
good,
need
good.
for speed is what we do.
Okay, great show. I just wanted to let a lot of the listeners know I'm going to be heading to Bridgeport this week. I'm not going to have a steady track this year. I'm going to go wherever I feel like going.
Yeah.
So I'm heading down to Bridgeport, and what I find interesting happening down there, most of the talk is always about the modified division, and rightfully so. But this week here, I noticed the street stocks are going to be getting, the first 11 spots will be getting special bonuses put together by Rich Ravita from the Ravita Speed. He's a real advocate of the street stock class.
Okay.
And I'm glad they're going to get some recognition this week because they put on an excellent show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was something like you said, I've always been a modified guy, sportsman guy. But since I got back into the racing, I've gotten into the street stocks and the late models, watching them too. And man, they do put on a hell of a show. And
yes, and what I like about the street stocks, they still build their own engines.
Yes.
Not like the crate sportsmans where everyone has an identical GM 602 crate motor. The street stocks, those guys can maybe pick a camshaft or some heads or a carburetor or whatever that they feel is going to give them an advantage. And so that's what I like about that class.
Yep. It's like old school racing. I love that.
Yeah. So what I'll do, Fred, when I'm from down Bridgeport, I'll give you some updates as the night goes on. Being you won't be able to make it any place this week.
Right.
And I've you know how many people I've talked to during the week are tuning into the show every Thursday. So that's really great.
And I really appreciate it. And I really love doing this, bringing this show to everybody and talking with you and Earl and Nick and everybody. I love talking.
Yes,
racing.
and yes, me too. And what I want to do is get some of these people off of Flow Racing and Dirt Track Digest and get down to the track in person. There's nothing like it.
Absolutely.
And I've been going since 1965. So
right.
there's something to it then. So anyway, guys, I got to run. So
all right, Mark.
Great show again.
All right, thank you. Thank you for calling in, and it was great sitting with you in New Egypt last weekend.
Talk to you next
Same
week.
here, and good to meet your grandson.
Oh, great. Thank you. All right.
All right, you're up with Fred. Go ahead.
Yeah, Fred. Do you ever race at Langhorne Speedway?
No, that's way before my time. My dad, I think, ran the drag cars there. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go watch the races I used to ride my bike over to Woodburn Road and climb the billboard and watch the races on the one turn there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a little bit before my time. I think they closed in 71.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little irony there is my first shop when I moved from Trenton over to Pennsylvania. My shop was the gas station. It was a Flying A gas station for the track.
Flying A, yeah.
So
the airplane there and everything.
Landlord had pictures hanging on the wall. That's
right. That's what you think of.
Trenton Speedway. Did you ever race over there?
No, that was before my time. Even though I feel old, I'm only 60. But I remember going there with my dad and we see meeting like a lot of the NASCAR guys like Richard Petty and AJ Foyt and like we were talking earlier, Wally Dallenbach, and we used to park on Klockner Road and look over the backside. So,
now, was that paved or was that dirt?
that was paved. There might have been
that-
dirt at some time, but again, I remember seeing the paved racing. So
I think they ruined Langhorne when they changed it from dirt to paved, though.
yeah, some of the names that were at Langhorne that I look over the history of Langhorne Speedway. It's like amazing who used to race there. Richard Petty, Lee Petty, all those guys used to. I had one of my first girlfriends, uncle Jackie Machero, who actually I think he died racing. I think that was at Langhorne, but he was one of the champions over there. So yeah, it goes back. I love it.
Fred, I'll let you go.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you much. Okay.
All right, glad you called.
There you go. That's somebody like back in time, 1965.
Well, yeah, Mark was back in 1965, and
I think there's a nostalgic thing to it, Fred. I mean, remember, going as kids or whatever, young adults thought maybe I want to try it every once in a while. Maybe somebody has.
yeah, I mean,
And,
I started racing with
yeah.
go-karts instead of just running around the go-karts, and
Go-karts.
could have picked up and going into quarter midgets and stuff
Yeah.
later on, but life happens.
Sure does.
Yeah, I'd always loved racing and been around there, my whole life.
Yeah, I guess there's a certain vibe to it. It's all sports or whatever. Just just before the first pitch or just something before the whatever.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
You start your engines, and it's like, and then you're gonna find out who's going to be maybe the celebrity starter. It's going to show up for this.
So never know who's going to be. We always get New Egypt gets somebody pretty much different every week to sing the national anthem. It's always good to see young singers down there.
Oh, it's.
One guy was playing guitar down there.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it was very informal, but but you didn't have to fear safety fears or anything like that. I mean, everything was. It was a different time.
And also people looked out for each other. Like if say I'm 8 years old and I'm running around the pits, unauthorized.
Yeah, right.
And like if I'm running around, my dad's not around, and Stan Pulaski or somebody might say, "Yo, get back out of it."
Yeah.
So everybody looked at her, Billy Osmond. Everybody would be like, "Yo, stay over here until we get all the cars."
Somebody doesn't belong here.
Yeah. So everybody's always was looking out for you. Everybody was friends.
That's
and that was
but in a good way, a fraternity kind of way.
Yeah.
Look out for each other's back.
In fact, I think if my dad comes out, we'll go. We'll walk through the pits and see who remembers them, and they strike up a conversation because back in the 70s. And
Righto.
like I said, and my friend Johnny Scarpati's running still. He was running the crates last week. I was talking to him yesterday. He sent me some pictures of some of the roster of running back in Flemington in 72, 73, and his dad was on there. So it's just it's a great fraternity of people to be in, and something special to be a part of.
If we could ever get John Miller on the show, wouldn't that be great? John Miller. He would be the all-time idol.
Hey, Paul Lamad, if you're listening, call in. Either one of my shows.
I was losing, man. Toad, I was losing. Anyway, but I tell you what, so map out how you might want to see things go, Fred, here the next couple of weeks with guests and
anybody
races.
that wants to call in. I'm happy to talk racing and listen to whatever you have to say about racing. I'm a sponge. I'll take it all in.
Yeah.
I love doing this show. So hopefully everybody's excited about being part of it. And
they remember the same people which is kind of interesting.
It really makes it special for me, and I hope it does for them as well. So hopefully we get some drivers calling in, some more track owners to call in and tell us what's going on at their places, and always looking for sponsors for the show to keep it going. And all you got to do is message me or call Bill Redner over here at WBCB, and we'll have a good time.
That's right. And Parnelli Jones.
Yeah, well,
I remember the day.
The checkered flag. Huh?
Yeah, that's it, man.
All right.
That's right. The Need for Speed follows Under the Hood with America's Mechanic Fred Fletcher here on BCB.